اليوم راح أتكلم على Eurogenital System, and you can see here this is from its name Eurogenital, and then it is two systems, urinary system and genital system. Functionally, Eurogenital system divided into urinary system and genital system, and both originate from mesoderm. At the start of the embryological state, the kidney system contains three groups. Appear. So not adult, and the fetus embryo of the human being disappear. Mesonephros also disappear, but few part of it, this mesonephros, originate in the cervical region, and it appear in the 4th week and disappear at the end of the same week, in the 4th week, and become rudimentary and non-function. Okay, the pronephros, as we said, it appear in the 4th week and disappear in the same week. While the mesonephros, it will form the mesonephros tubules, the pronephros, in a group of cells, disappear and then appear and disappear in the same week. It is represented by 7 to 10 solid cell group in the cervical region. And by the end of the same week or 4th week, have disappeared, and it is rudimentary and non-functional. Mesonephros, and also will form mesonephric duct, derived from intermediate mesoderm, from upper thoracic to upper lumbar, also in the 4th week during regression of the pronephros. It become lengthy and S-shaped and get some tuft of capillary, will form some glomerulus, and around which tubules form the Bowman capsule. Laterally, the tubules enter to the collecting duct, or called the mesonephric duct. By the end of the 2nd month, يعني تاخذ لها فقط شهر واحد بس, also disappear. The majority disappear. It will start to form some Bowman capsule, some form glomeruli, and connect to the collecting duct. يعني واحد يتوقع من هي راح تصير هي هاي الكدني, لكن also this disappear at the end of the 2nd month. But a few tubules of this mesonephros, قلت لكم بعدين راح نجي نشوف هاي الميزونيفريك داكت راح تسوي لنا الفاز, راح تسوي لنا الميل genital duct. Then this mesonephros also disappear. الميتانيفروس هي will form the definitive kidney. It appeared in the 5th week. This is the pronephros in the cranial part. 7 إلى 10 مجاميع group cells disappear. Mesonephros also disappear in the 2nd month. Few remain. This is degenerative mesonephros, and this is remain. This is the mesonephric duct. The 3rd group is called, this one here, this is the black, this is called the metanephric tissue. The metanephros. قاعد تسمعوني واضح؟
دكتور.
No. It appeared in the 5th week. It contain, this is black, called collecting, اللي هو يجمع لنا اليورين. And this called excretory, which excrete the urine. We come to this black dot, اللي هي راح تسوي لنا اليوريتر. Collecting system, this is a urethric bud. منين originate from this structure called mesonephric duct. So the urethric bud, it originates from mesonephric duct near its entrance to the cloaca. This is a cloaca, so this is urethric bud. This urethric bud go cranially, start to penetrate the metanephric tissue here, and then divide it into 12, like this 12, and then will form the renal pelvis, then calyx, and then 1 to 3 million, 1 to 3 million collecting ducts. We come to this black dots. This is called the nephron. Each one from this collecting duct, which come from ureteric bud, covered at its end by metanephric tissue. هذني النقاط السود خلينا نقول هي metanephric tissue. This metanephric tissue will form the S-shape tubules and also capillary grow at one end. This will differentiate into S-shape and will form the glomeruli. The tubule with the glomeruli will form the secretory unit, or called the nephron. The proximal end of each nephron form the Bowman capsule. You can see here in this slide. This is the collecting duct in 1 إلى 3 which come from ureteric bud. This is metanephric tissue. The metanephric tissue will surround each duct and then will form another tubules which start to elongate and get capillary at one end to form the glomeruli and form the Bowman capsule. You can see here, this is the tubules, and then you can reach up here. We start to elongate. This is the Bowman capsule. This is the glomerulus. All these called nephron. And then this is from ureteric bud. This is the collecting duct. Then it starts to elongate. It will form proximal convoluted tubules, then lobe of Hilli, and then distal convoluted tubules. واضحة يا شباب؟ سمعوني؟
نعم دكتور واضح.
تمام. إذا هسه الكدني develop from where؟ أولاً metanephric tissue اللي هو هذا الأسود. This is metanephric tissue will form the nephron, which called the excretory اللي هي excrete waste product and urine. And this one اللي قلنا عليه ureteric bud. This one, the black, this is ureteric bud. And then the kidney will develop from ureteric bud and from metanephric tissue. The position of the kidney initially in the pelvic region, later shift to more cranial position in the abdomen. In the pelvis, the metanephros receive its arterial supply from pelvic branch of the aorta, but later vascularized by artery that originate from the aorta at higher level. The function of the kidney metanephros become function near 12 weeks, يعني ب 12 اشهر. But during fetal life, the kidney not responsible for excretion of waste product, since the placenta serve this function. Now we finish from the kidney, the ureter. Now we come to the bladder. The blind end of the hindgut caudal to the point of origin of allantois expand to form cloaca. Here. Okay. This will form, the distal part will enlarge to form the cloaca. So, blind end of the hindgut caudal to the origin of allantois form cloaca. Cloaca divided anteriorly urogenital and the anal canal posteriorly. The mesoderm pass around the cloacal membrane or proliferate to form the genital tubercles. إذا هنا ايش راح نفتهم؟ راح عندنا 3 point we have to What is cloaca? It is the blind end of the hindgut, caudal to the allentoes that expand. أو نقول the expanded blind end. Okay, and the cloaca divided anterior and posterior. What is genital tubercle? There is elevation. Where is it? Around the cloacal membrane. Originate from proliferation of the mesoderm. So the mesoderm around the cloacal membrane proliferate and forming elevation called genital tubercle. And in genital tubercle, it is elevation formed by proliferation of mesoderm around the cloacal membrane. Okay. شوفوا هذا الجينيتال تيوبركل بالساعة نسولف عليه. هذا بعدين later it will form in the male the penis, in the female will form the clitoris. Eurogenital sinus اللي هو قلنا what is Eurogenital sinus? It is the anterior part of the cloaca. Receive the mesonephric duct. الميزونيفريك duct شنو قلنا من الساعة عليها؟ It give rise to ureteric bud. And also it later will form the vase. So the Eurogenital sinus receive the mesonephric duct. Okay. Caudal end of the mesonephric duct distal to the ureter bud is progressively absorbed into Eurogenital sinus and then will form trigone. Now we have another notes that the trigone it formed by what? By distal end of the mesonephric duct. And this diagram ممكن يوضحها لكم. This is mesonephric duct and this is the ureter bud. You can see this area, this is the black dot, it will be absorbed into Eurogenital sinus. It will be here, become short, and here disappear and become, this is the black dots. So where is this part of this area? Contain both ureteric orifice and the internal sphincter, bladder vesical sphincter. Internal opening, internal or bladder neck with two ureteric orifice. So, by 7th week, both mesonephric duct and the ureteral bud have independent opening. Okay. Now, the Eurogenital sinus, the ventral and pelvic portion will form a bladder, part of the urethra in male, and the whole urethra in the female. And this portion receive the ureter. While the pelvic part will give rise to the prostatic and membranous urethra. And the third is phallic part. So here we have three components of the Eurogenital sinus: the upper and some from pelvic will form the bladder and part of the urethra, and whole urethra in the female. The second part is the pelvic portion, give rise to prostatic membrane and membranous, and the third one is the phallic part. The urethra. Now, you know that any epithelium, it will form from endoderm. So the epithelium of the urethra, it originates from endoderm. At the end of the third month, يعني من ندخل بالsecond trimester, the prostate starts. The urethral epithelium begins proliferate and forms a number of outgrowths. In male, form the prostate gland, while in the female, also the urethral give rise to a urethral and paraurethral gland. Any question till now? Any point not so clear for you? Yes? I didn't hear you. Please repeat.
دكتور تسلم ما قطعت.
شكرا لك. باي ذا واي انا الجروب اللي قبلكم على اساس اليوم اعطيكم المحاضره على شكل وورد، بس ما راح اعطيكم اياها بصراحه، راح اسوي اختصارات بيها لان اشوف شويه صعبه عليكم، يعني محاضرتين في وقت الواحد والالكتروني، وراح اسحبها واختصرها لكم وارجعها لكم مره ثانيه. زين، هو بيها امور شويه دايجرام يساعدك على الحفظ، هي اغلبها هي imagination بصراحه. اوكي، اذا وي فينيش فروم.
بس اول سلايد اللي
نعم،
اول سلايد اللي كانت فيه الخلايا بس انه مجرد اسماء مكتوبه، بس انت هواي شرحت عليهن، يعني انا مطلوبه ولا لا؟
طبعا مطلوبه، راح تلقيها بالمحاضره بنتي.
تمام، شكرا لك.
احنا هذا الستايل ما حكينا شيء، قلنا البرونفراس هم 7 جروب 7 الى 10. It's present in the cranial part, appear in the 4th week, or disappear in the same. It is non-function. الميزونفراس قلنا also appear in the same week bil 4th week, and it is appear from lower thoracic to the upper lumbar segment, thoracic segment, spine segment, and this is some majority disappear. Although it's gate S-shape, gate glomeruli, gate capillary, some elongation, but also disappear, and some become remnant and will form in the what formation of the ureter, genital body يطلع from mesonephric duct, and then its formation of the vase. We'll be talk about it. Also, mesonephros duct share in the formation of the trigone, while the metanephros, as we said here, الميتانفرس here قلنا it consists from collecting duct اللي هو permanent kidney will form the ureter bud, and this ureter bud give rise to the ureter and then pelvis, calyx, and collecting duct. While excretory, we said that the collecting duct will get some metanephric tissue and will form small vesicle, and is called S-shaped tubules formation. The capillary grow into the bucket at the one end would form the glomeruli because it is definitive kidney. So this is just repetition for the first slide as your colleague asked about it, and we'll get more information in the lecture that I will supply to you. Okay, come to the next lecture. It's called about genital system. The genital system here, we know that the genital system, the main corner of this is the genes, and you have to differentiate whether there's XX or XY. The sex differentiation is a complex process that involves many genes, but the key is Y chromosome, which contains SRY, sex determining region on Y chromosome, which present on the short arm YP11. This gene, of course, will encoding protein. This called is the testis determining factor. So this gene produces protein, and under its influence, the male development occurs. The gonad appear initially as a pair of longitudinal ridge called gonadal or genital ridge. They are formed by proliferation of the epithelium and condensation of underlying mesenchyme. إذا إحنا عندنا first ridge, pair of ridge contain epithelium and mesenchyme, like any other structure. So how become this is a gonad? It needs genital cells or sex gels, and these sex cells will present in the yolk sac. And during the 4th week, this is indifferent gonad. In the 4th week, this sex cells, this is one XY, and this is, it start to migrate from yolk sac to this indifferent gonad. And then it start to formate some primitive sex cord. This is the primitive sex cord. We cannot know whether it will develop into testes or ovary. So we called it indifferent gonad. Later on, this indifferent gonad under the سد المايك يا شباب. سد indifferent gonad under the influence of SRY gene, this is on Y chromosome, that will start to secrete the testis determining factor, so it will develop into testis. How it develop into testis? First of thing, the cord of the gonad, the primitive cord, start to develop into medullary cords. Toward the hilum of the gonad, the cord break down into the retitestis. So this is the cord start medially in the medulla, not here in the periphery. So start, we called it medullary, and toward the hilum, these cord break up into small tubules called retitestis. This is the brown structure, development of fibrous structure called tunica albuginea, which protect the testis and separate the testis cord. Inside these six cords, there is within these cords contain also certainly cells and germ cell, while in between here there is interstitial cells called Leydig cells which secrete testosterone. هتوضح لكم الصورة بعدين تشوفون هذا this is the yellow structure هو a remnant of the mesonephric duct. This is the mesonephros and mesonephric duct اللي بالساعة شفناها بالمحاضرة. هذا اللي بقى هنا degenerative mesonephros. This is the mesonephric duct. وهاي التوبيولز هي اللي راح تجينا بعدين هنا. هذا اللي راح يشكل لنا the blue color. So this is the testis will develop into medullary cord. There is a breakdown into tubules called retitestis. هاي راح تيجي بعدين حناخذها بالgenital duct. هاي راح تكون لنا efferent ductules. This is will form the epididymis and this is the vas. This is come from where? Come from mesonephric duct. This is remnant of the mesonephros and this is the mesonephric duct. We come to the ovary. So here, what is testis? There is medullary cord, docortical cords. There is thick tunica albuginea. While in the female, there is XX, absence of Y, indifferent gonad. Also, there is sex cord. The sex cord develop into the cortex, not in the medulla. Medullary cord degenerate, and there is just cortical cord. Okay. The germ cells, there's no tunica elbogenia because the follicle will rupture through the surface. There is no tube to transmit the ova. You know that in the male there is some tube called vas transmit from the center of the testis, while here there is rupture of the ova, oogonia, and follicles near the surface, so there is no tunica elbogenia. The germ cell develop into oogonia, and the surrounding epithelial cell will form the follicular cell. Okay, so we finish the gonad. Any question? And then we come to the genital duct. Also, we have indifferent stage. Initially, both male and female have two pair of genital duct. بالساعة تكلمنا هواية عن الميزونفريك دكت. قلت لكم هاي بعدين راح تشارك بالجينيتال دكت. هسه هنا راح يجي الوقت. This is time to talk about it. We have mesonephric duct, and this is will form the male genital duct, and we have paramesonephric. Para mean it is parallel. It's also called Mullerian duct. The paramesonephric duct. Now we talk about mesonephric. We said it is arising from intermediate mesoderm. What about paramesonephric duct? It arises as longitudinal invagination of the epithelium on the anterolateral surface of urogenital ridge. Okay, the paramesonephric duct, it is a longitudinal invagination of the epithelium on the anterolateral surface of the urogenital ridge. And then it is a longitudinal invagination of the epithelium. That's enough. Here, the genital duct in the male, as we said here, this is the medullary cord, this is the tunica elbogenia, and we said it rupture, break up into small tubules, retitestis. So, as you remember, we said there is the mesonephros regress, a few tubules establish connection with the retitestis, and these tubules will called efferent ductules. Efferent ductules, this is what. Then, beyond this, the mesonephric duct start to elongate and become tortuous. This will form the epididymis. Then, further elongation will form the vas, also called ductus deferens. Ductus deferens or vas, and then there is some outgrowth and expansion to form some vesicle called seminal vesicle, and connection of the duct of the seminal vesicle with the vas will form the ejaculatory duct. All these blue will form from mesonephric duct. What about the Mullerian duct or mesonephric duct? Here it will be disappear. In the cranial part, the terminant appendix of the testis, and in the distal part called prostatic utricles. So now we finish about the duct in male. We come to the duct in the female. Here we have a three part of paramesonephric duct: cranial vertical, horizontal, and caudal vertical. You can see this is cranial vertical, this is the horizontal, and this is the caudal. This vertical with the horizontal will form the fallopian tube. These vertical caudal, if fused together, will form the uterus and 4/5 of the vagina. 4/5 الفاجينا. So the vagina, it will form by what? By fused Mullerian duct. 4/5. And the lower fifth, it will form by Eurogenital Sinus. You can see here that the Eurogenital Sinus receive here or connect the fused Mullerian duct, and here this called sino-vaginal bulb or sino-vaginal node, also called Genital Tubercle. Okay. So the cervical portion, that open abdominal cavity, will form this one. We said it will form the fallopian tube. The horizontal will form also fallopian tube, while the caudal will fuse, will form the uterus and upper 4/5 of the vagina. اكو سؤال لحد الان؟ هسه خلصنا الجينيتال duct of the female which originate from paramesonephric, also called Mullerian duct. اكو سؤال؟ So سمعوني يا شباب، احد يجاوب لي يقول ايه لا؟
دكتور واضح.
تمام.
نعم دكتور.
تمام. إذا when there is testis, there is testosterone, there is certainly cell also excrete Mullerian inhibiting substance. What result? The testis, the paramesonephric duct will suppress, and the mesonephric duct will form vas and epididymis. Then when there is excretion of testosterone, the external genitalia will form growth of the penis, scrotum, and the prostate. While ovary, there is estrogen, including maternal come from mother and also from placenta. The paramesonephric duct stimulated and will form uterine tube اللي هو نقصد عليه fallopian tube والuterus and upper 4/5 of the vagina. While external genitalia, when stimulated by estrogen, there is formed labia, clitoris, and lower portion of the vagina. And as I said, the lower portion of the vagina is formed by Eurogenital Sinus. Okay. Now come to the external genitalia. In the external genitalia, we said there is this is the cloacal membrane. We can see here swelling called genital swelling, and can see here the mesenchymal cell migrate around the cloacal membrane, and it will form some elevation called cloacal fold. This is cloacal fold. Okay. Cranial, this part, the cloacal fold, unite to form genital tubercle. And you mentioned, if you remember, we talked about this previously. So when there's mesenchyme, cells around the cloacal membrane proliferate, will form the cloacal fold, and this unite to form genital tubercle. Caudally, the cloacal fold subdivide into two openings, one called urethral fold and the another will form the anal fold. This is called area of indifferent stage. So in the indifferent stage, what we have genital swelling, we have genital tubercle, we have genital swelling, and we have cloacal fold. Just the fusion of the cloacal fold cranially will give genital tubercle. Subdivision more will give urethral fold and anal fold. This is occur both in male and in female. In male, as I said, under influence of dihydrotestosterone, which is secreted from Leydig cells, the genital tubercle elongate, it will form the phallus. That to say, the penis. And the urethral fold also extend with it, would form the urethral blade. Then this fold will unite to form the urethra. But the distal end of the urethra not canalize. It comes from ectoderm, which penetrate the glands to form the external urethral meatus. We finish from the penis and urethra. What about this? And the urethral fold will form the urethra. What about genital swelling? Genital swelling will form both half of scrotum. So the scrotum will come from genital swelling. While in the female, in the absence of the effect testosterone and the presence of estrogen, the genital tubercle, slightly elongated, will form the clitoris. The urethral fold stay as it to represent the labia minor, and the genital swelling also expand to form the labia major. And now we finish from our two lectures. Please, any question? Any question؟ واضحة إن شاء الله؟ هذا أبسط شيء قدرت أبسطه لكم. زين؟ الأسئلة مالتكم راح تكون عبارة عن MCQ ويعني كروس ماتش موستلي. احتمال يجيكم تعريف فيها. زين؟ شورت اسي ما راح نذكر. حاولوا المخططات ايضا تدرسوها. تقرا المخطط. زين؟ يعني المخططات مو بس الدايجرامز الموجوده، مو بس تباعوا لها وخلاص. حاول ركز عليها لان احتمال السؤال يجي بعدين. اوكي يابا؟ يلا شكرا لكم، مع السلامه.